But the challenge that you always have in my world is finding really good people. And so, we kind of joke that we are always hiring and we're never hiring. Our growth has not been because we decided that we wanted to grow. Our growth has been that we have found the right people, and then that's when we decide to move forward. So we don't ever post job openings. We don't, that's kind of not how we operate. Where usually people hear about us, they want to talk to us, they want to tell us what they do, and when we find those special people, then we will hire them and move forward with them. So I think that it's our growth is really driven by finding the right people, and it's something that we're very proud of, that our staff, top to bottom, is fantastic, and you don't have much or any of a drop off between our senior most therapists and somebody who's relatively new to us. They might be different in experience, but from an ability to have great clinical knowledge and also be able to connect with people.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Business of Learning podcast. My name is Joao Camargo, and my guest here today is Derek Bylsma, who is a partner and executive director of Millennium Counseling Center. Derek, thank you so much for being here today. I'm super excited to have this conversation.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm glad to be on the show.
Amazing. Let's start off with you just telling everyone a little bit more about yourself, a little bit more about the company, who you guys are, who you hope, what you're all about, and of course, any other context that you would like to share.
Yeah. So, we're Millennium Counseling Center in Chicago. We have been here for about, I think we're coming up on 22 years in Chicago, and began by a woman, a founder named Ann Foster, who had been in private practice and decided to start to grow her practice a little bit. And the kind of originally started out around mostly around kind of process compulsive behaviors and some sort of addiction type work, and over the years has kind of transformed into a number of different things, kind of from that platform. I came in actually as an intern, I think 15 years ago, and then ended up being hired on as a therapist. And several years in, Anne was kind of starting to phase out a little bit. So myself and my partner, Warren Madison, took over kind of running. He took over as clinical director. I took over as executive director. And then 5-6 years ago, we ended up taking over ownership and kind of went into semi-retirement down in Nashville. We're very close with her still. It was like one of those business transactions that was a true win-win. It was great for us, and it was great for her, and so I still have a really strong relationship with her and owe a lot to her. So we're grateful to have had her in our life. And as far as what we do individual counseling. And then basically the way we're set up is we have a number of kind of different specialists in different areas. So at this point, we've got about 20 people with Millennium, and we have people who specialize in trauma, people who specialize in attachment, people who specialize mostly in mental health, some people who specialize in substance abuse, people who specialize in process addictions. So from an individual standpoint, that's what we do. We also do a number of kind of specialized groups around. So we do group therapy around those things. And then we have two other pieces of us. We have a division that's dedicated to working with athletes. So we have, and our motto with that is we hire former high-level athletes who are therapists, and we kind of treat the entire spectrum within athletes. So all the way from kind of true mental health things all the way up through performance. We've got a PhD sports psychologist on staff. And so we kind of treat that whole spectrum when working with athletes. We found that was an area that there was, maybe had been behind the rest of society as far as, providing support and getting help. And that's gone really well. We partner with major colleges in Illinois and, help them kind of along and anything kind of counseling related. And then we've got our intensive program, which we call an intensive recovery program called 3A. It is really set up originally for people who were coming out of residential treatment and needed a step down program, but now we use it in place of, kind of what is a traditional intensive outpatient program, where the reason why we did this is we're really focused on individual work as opposed to group work. So we will, for that intensive program, we will have 2 or 3 of us who will be working with somebody 8 to 10 hours a week. We're available after hours to kind of help people through tough situations. And then also we're usually in touch with people 2 to 3 times a day. So it's a very intensive clinical model, and has been, the outcomes have been great. It's been a great process. So that's kind of all of it in a nutshell.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing on that. And there's so many things that I would love to add and also ask you about there too. I wanted to start off with, are you using the term counseling and therapy interchangeably, or is there a difference
Yeah.
between those? Okay.
Yeah. They're kind of interchangeable. I think some of it depends on, the type of degrees you have. So we have social workers, we have mental health counselors, but I think that the overall, it's kind of a general term, using the term therapist that can kind of cover a lot of different things. So yes, they're somewhat interchangeable, and yeah.
That makes sense. Thank you. So thank you for clarifying that too. And I also wanted to touch on the sports thing you mentioned, which is interesting. I actually might have briefly talked about this when we first had our conversation, but I used to train athletes. I did that for 4 years, and I used to train them on the performance side of things. So biomechanics, plyometrics, speed, agility, mobility, all the, you name it, right? But one of the things that I used to notice the most is that yes, they were so far behind in the terms of the mental health side of things. It takes such a huge toll, especially on these athletes that are doing what they do at such a high level,
Yeah.
that people just focus on the physical side of things. But through the conversations that I would have with them as their trainer, man, it was like a therapy session for them in a way, because
Yep.
there's a that sense of, I need support in this specific thing, but I don't know where to go to get support in this specific thing. So it's really great that you mentioned that that's something that you guys are doing, because it's something that I've actually personally experienced firsthand, not on the receiving end, but more so on the helping end. So it's really cool that you brought that up as well. So thank you for sharing that. I wanted to ask too, you mentioned individual being a high part of what you guys are doing. Why is that the case? Why is that the focus for anyone listening in? Why did you guys choose to go more on the individual route as opposed to the group route, which I know both of them have their pros and cons? Individual can be a little bit more private, more personal. On the group side, you can share more amongst each other so people can relate to each other. So talk to me, what was the driving decision to go more on the individual route for you guys?
Yeah, I think that so first of all, we believe heavily in group therapy, and the value of that. It's for us, it isn't it's a both and, not a either or. But
Nice.
I think that when it comes to kind of our intensive program, what we would find is that we're complicated people, right? Human beings are complicated people, and we all have different reasons why certain things may be difficult that we need to work through. And kind of one of the things that people kept saying when they were talking about the treatment options, in the mental health community, was that they wanted more individual attention. They wanted, somebody really talking to them specifically about what's going on in their life, and the challenges that they have. The group is excellent. The challenge that you have with that is that if you've got 6 or 8 or 10 people in a group, as the group leader, the challenge is I have to find a way to make sure that I'm providing value for all of those people who come from very different backgrounds. They may be, different genders, different age groups, came up through different communities. And so all of those things are factors in, helping people get to a healthier place. And so I think for us was the big thing is that the traditional model, particularly around any kind of intensive work, was really, really focused on the group aspect. And so we felt like we could, kind of by differentiating, I will add that part of our intensive program also includes group therapy. So it's not that they're either or, but I think that the kind of traditional is really heavily weighted on group, and we are much more heavily weighted on intensive. And I think that from a clinical standpoint, the feedback that we've gotten from the experts around the country, we work with treatment centers across the country, and they love our model from a clinical standpoint. It's highly effective. It gives people a lot of attention, a lot of accountability, and really just helping people with acceptance, getting to kind of what is it that I need to do as I move forward to make sure I can be as healthy as possible.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that as well. I think it's always important to highlight how different areas of focus can lead to different results, but also tackle so many different situations because we are so complex in many different ways that we have here for hours and hours on end to talk about the complexities of humans there. So
That's right.
thank you for sharing that. I'd love to shift the conversation a little bit more onto the business itself, Derek. Just talking a little bit more on what you guys are going through and what you guys deal with, because I think one of the important things I always like to highlight in these conversations is that business sometimes from an outsider can just look like sunshine and rainbows, but we know that that's not the truth
Mm.
ever, ever, ever. So I'd love to hear maybe some of the challenges when it comes to the business growth that you guys go through. Of course, in the goal of increasing the impact that you guys are achieving for your patients. But not only that, growing the business as a result of it, because if the business doesn't grow, then you can't help people in any case. So talk to me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I think that's a challenge in the mental health field in general is, how do you get more help to more people? And I think that in kind of deciding how you're going to go about that, there's kind of two factors. If I have some idea of something I wanted to do, like for instance, our intensive program that we started years ago, there you have to make sure that it makes sense clinically, that it's something that is going to actually help people and can, be a really good resource. And then on the flip side, you have to make sure that it makes sense from a business standpoint. And I think that what our philosophy has always been is that we want to make sure it makes clinical sense first, and then if it does make clinical sense, then we can try to make business sense of it. I think that is in our field, you kind of have two different you have two kind of different ways that people are coming at it. But a lot of the people who provide treatment that end up owning, small practices or bigger practices come from the therapeutic side. They're therapists themselves, and they kind of got in this usually because they want to help people. But over the last several years, we've gotten a lot more kind of private equity money and business people coming in, noticing that this is something that is increasing and that there's, kind of a business opportunity there. And so I think trying to balance those two things, I think traditionally speaking, therapists struggle with the business side of it. And then when you have business people, then they might struggle with the clinical side of it. And so really kind of making sure that that you're doing both. I mean, we've grown in the last 5 years, we've grown, I think, 250% or something like that along those lines. And but the challenge that you always have in my world is finding really good people. And so, we kind of joke that we are always hiring and we're never hiring. Our growth has not been because we decided that we wanted to grow. Our growth has been that we have found the right people, and then that's when we decide to move forward. So we don't ever post job openings. We don't, that's kind of not how we operate. We're usually people hear about us, they want to talk to us, they want to tell us what they do, and when we find those special people, then we will hire them and move forward with them. So I think that it's our growth is really driven by finding the right people, and it's something that we're very proud of. That our staff, top to bottom, is fantastic, and you don't have much or any of a drop off between our senior most therapists and somebody who's relatively new to us. They might be different in experience, but from an ability to have great clinical knowledge and also be able to connect with people, that's really, really important to us. And we've got a really, really special group here. So
That's awesome, because at the end of the day, people are growing businesses themselves, right?
that's right.
It's people that matter, right? And it's so interesting. And I love to hear this from you too. When it comes to, let's say, the people side of things is some, as you said, people, they hear about you, they like what you're doing. There's no need to, at least for right now and what you guys have been building up so far, to have job posts and all these things. It's all coming internally. Amazing. Let's actually assume that stays perfect like that forever. Amazing, right? Best case scenario for any company. What then becomes that obstacle? Is it really, because you mentioned, how do we find more people to help, right? That's the, for what you guys are doing is, is that more so on the lens of, hey, making sure people are more aware that you guys exist? Is it more so making sure that people that already know you guys exist are educated on the value that they gain from you? Is it more so on the side of, hey, we just need to create a lot more of these opportunities, more of these conversations, and then if they're a fit, close them on the back end? What does that look like in your head right now?
Yeah, I think a piece of it is educating people on the value of what we do. We see that in our athlete wellness division. A lot of what we have to do in that group is educate people to the type of work we do and kind of the support we can give them. I think that the challenge is that when you're out there, for anybody who has looked for any extra support, right? How do you find? It's so important that you find the right people, right? If you talk to anybody who's had a therapist or a counselor, they will say, like I had two that I didn't really connect with, and then I finally found the right one, and it was, a great resource for me. And so I think it is just, kind of how are you able to do that? How are we able to help people to understand the type of work we do and the type of people we have, from a standpoint where a lot of things these days are around marketing and online presence and those types of things, which is a difficult way to be able to really kind of express that, right? And so I think that's the thing that we tell our folks internally is that we are a highly referral business. So usually what happens is actually somebody in our own field, we're usually referred people from other therapists who are looking for somebody who's a little more specialized. And I think that so what I always encourage people to do is, one thing that we do, either myself or my partner call back every person that calls in. So if they call in and are asking for what our services are, one of the two owners is going to call you back and have that initial conversation, which is somewhat unheard of. But the reason why we do that is because we know how difficult it is to find really good help. We know how difficult it is to even pick up the phone and ask for help. And so we don't want them to feel like they haven't gotten, that it takes 3 or 4 calls to get to the right place. We know all of our people very well. We know who would be the best fit for them, and we can talk to them kind of in that very first conversation. We can let them know that. And I think the other thing that we're not afraid to do, and I encourage anybody in my field to do this, is if we're not the right place, then we will tell them that. And I will tell them, at least in my opinion, what who they should talk to and where they should go. So I think it's just knowing what you're good at, making sure that you do all the things that you want to do and are going to tell people to do, and just knowing your limitations and your strengths, I guess, is really important as a group, not just for me individually, but as a practice.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I really like the transparency side of things that you mentioned. Like, hey, if it's not the right fit, we'll let them know up front. I think so many companies are like, no, let's just get the next sale and close that. But it's like, hey, is that really going to bring the best piece of value to them, but also doing them the right service? No, so yeah, you'll be doing them a disservice, and that's never a good thing. So thank you for sharing that as well. There's a question that I ask almost every single guest on the podcast here, Derek, that I also wanted to ask you, which is this. Let's say you had a magic wand and you could just wave this amazing, phenomenal wand to solve one challenge, one problem, obstacle, whatever you want to call it in the business, that would allow you to hit, of course, all your impact goals, but before that is the growth goals, all the client acquisition goals that you have, maybe the revenue target, all the things that you guys have set as achievements that you want to get to for the company. So many times, I think as leaders, we have a million different priorities, but for this, you just get one. You wave that wand, one thing gets solved. What's the one thing you want to solve?
Well, I'll tell you it in 2 ways. The first thing I would say is, from a business standpoint, what it would be is that I could always have the perfect balance of really high quality therapists and people who are wanting and needing help. Right? It kind of is always going back and forth. Either we have, we don't have enough people to take care of everybody who needs help, or we have, we don't have the inflow of clientele that can make sure people are as busy as they want to be. That's the challenge for us, is you're constantly looking at that balance, right? And then I think internally for us, balancing structure and autonomy. So to be able to, we hire people who many of them could go open their own practice tomorrow. And, but we want them to stay with us because they're fantastic and we like working with them. And so how do you give people the autonomy and the freedom to be able to do the type of work that they want to do while providing structure enough so that they feel like there's, like this is something that's going to help them grow from a, yes, they're taken care of and there's processes in place and things. And I would say that on the just purely from a client standpoint, if there was one magic wand, this is a bigger magic wand for me, which is why I mention it, is I would be able to help people see what things could look like if they were able to go through the process and do the work and see what can life actually look like. I think that there's so much. When I meet with people for the first time, I tell them, I say, look, the hardest thing you're going to have to do right now is you're going to have to trust me, even though you don't know me, and you're going to have faith that kind of the life that you're looking for and want is possible, and it's just a matter of how you get there. And so those are the things. It's not that we don't have a magic wand, right? But particularly in our specializations, we know what needs to happen for somebody to get to a better place, whether it's working through past trauma, whether it's working through substance abuse. We know what that path looks like. And but sometimes that's very difficult to kind of engage in that and do the things that you need to do to get there. But I wish I could just show them, kind of a film or like a clip from a year in the future and say, this is what this could look like if you're able to follow through on these things.
Yeah, because in a way, like in simple business terms, is just showing the ROI for them.
That's right.
Hey, here's the exact outcome that you will be getting from this entire thing, which may be tough, but it will be worth it.
That's right.
Would you agree with that?
100%. Yes, that is exactly right.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you for sharing that as well. I have one final question for you here, Derek, which is actually not a question from me. It's a question from our last guest to you, and they had no idea who you were. So here's the question. You ready for it?
Yeah.
I like this one. What is one of the hardest lessons that you have ever learned in your leadership/entrepreneurship role? And where did that lesson come from? And they made sure to add at the end, no fluff.
Yeah, that's a hard question. I would say, let's see, the hardest thing I have learned, I guess I would say that, previous to doing this, back in my previous career, I had owned several companies, and that was in the recruiting and staffing world. And I think the biggest thing that I've had to learn from that standpoint is being able to recognize the things that we're not good at, and being able to recognize the things that I'm personally not good at, and make sure that my humility stays in place to be able to recognize those things. And with that comes not being afraid to hire people that are better than me. And, I think that's again where I think, being able to not let pride or ego get in the way of bringing people aboard who are better than me in all sorts of things. And, that's how I think you become great. Is I think you have to be willing to understand that it's not you as an individual, it's as a group. And that may sound a little fluffy, but it's the truth. It's I think that that's probably the greatest thing I learned is that I can never be afraid to surround myself with people who are not just as good as me, but are better than me at all these different things.
Yeah, I like that a lot, because it's almost like, if you're better than me, please come my way.
Yes.
I'm good. I want to put my ego aside. I don't care about this pride thing that is not going to allow me to, or this business to reach where it has to reach. Like,
that's right.
The goal is to hire people that are smarter. The goal is to do all these things. But I think so many business owners, they seem to not let their ego and their pride do those things as well. So I don't think that's fluff. I think that's the reality. It's right. Be sharing that. But everyone, Derek, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you. Where should people go if they want to learn a little bit more about you, Derek? Also a little bit more about the company as well.
Yeah, they can go to our website, which is www.millenniumhope.com. And that's MILLENNIUM. People misspell millennium sometimes. So millenniumhope.com. And on there, we have all of our bios. We have more information about our athlete wellness group. But I would encourage people to, if you have questions about what we do, just call us, right? Like I said, myself or my partner will call you back, and we can tell you. We have also been in the Chicago community, the Illinois, mental health community for over 20 years. So if we don't have the answer for you, I could likely tell you where you could get that. And certainly just want everybody to have access to care and make sure that, it's a difficult journey to try to look inward and try to get healthy. And we have to make that as easy on people as we possibly can, because it's not an easy task.
Yes, 100%. I'll leave as many links as I can to Derek and Millennium down here below if you want to check it out. And if you're listening to this conversation, you want to hear more conversations like this, please hit the subscribe button, and I will see you on the next episode. Derek, thank you so much again for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me. I had a lot of fun.